Hey guys, Political Junkie 2414 here, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about mid-decade redistricting and how it could impact the 2024 House of Representatives elections. Now, you might be wondering, well, didn't we just go through redistricting? And the answer is yes. We just had the 2022 midterm elections less than a year ago, and that was the first set of congressional elections after the 2020 census, which meant every state was going to get a new map by default. That's just kind of how it works. Every decade, there's redistricting, but there are a lot of cases for 2024 where congressional maps for states, especially some in the South, are being challenged. States like Alabama and Louisiana, look likely to redraw their maps, and it is going to add to the drama that it's going to add to the tension and the drama for control of the House in 2024. Before I get into it any further, make sure to like the video if you like what you've seen it already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this video with someone who you think would enjoy it. So I'm not going to be talking about every single state that's going through that's likely to have redistricting or has a significant chance, has a realistic chance of, getting a new congressional map in this video. We're going to be focusing mainly on states in the South like Alabama, Louisiana, and North Carolina. For today, I will make videos probably about New York, Ohio, and Wisconsin, states like that, maybe New Mexico, and potentially South Carolina as well. But right now, I'm just going to be focusing on a couple of states. I'm going to be talking about how it adds to, or how it affects the 2024 House election. So on your screen right now is basically a map of the current composition of the U.S. House of Representatives. You can see Republicans have the majority. They have 222 seats. Democrats have 212, and there's one vacant seat in Rhode Island. There is a representative in Utah who will be resigning, so there will soon be two vacant seats. But essentially, this is the effective. This was the map after the 2022 elections. So yeah, that's basically where the Democrats and Republicans are right now. Even though the Dems currently are, have one vacant seat, but that will soon be replaced. In a special election later this year. But let's get into it. Let's talk about the state of Alabama first. Alabama, currently, if we look at the map here, you can see that there are 7 congressional districts. One is represented by a Democrat, and the other 6 are represented by Republicans. Now, in Alabama, Democrats usually get 35 something, around 35% of the vote. And if you look at the districts proportionally, 1 out of 7 congressional districts, I think, is like 16%, and that is very much a racial gerrymander because the the in the South, the South is particularly polarized racially speaking in terms of how how different demographics vote, and Alabama's sole in the one Democratic district here in Alabama is majority black. But the Supreme Court ruled last month, as it was wrapping, or 2 months ago, I guess, now because it's August. But the Supreme Court basically ruled that Alabama needed a second black majority district, and that is going to likely lead to a Democratic pickup in Alabama. Currently, a couple of weeks ago, the Alabama legislature, had a was a came for a special session to redraw the congressional maps. And instead of making 2 black majority districts, basically made um, the they basically reduced um, the black population of the 7th congressional district, which is the Democratic district in Alabama, from 56% to 51%, and made the 2nd congressional district about 40% black. And that is not a majority, obviously. That is more so, like an opportunity district for Democrats, and not necessarily a district that would guarantee black voters get more than one, seat in Congress. Because, of course, it is very likely that Alabama would, that the other representative that would be a Democrat from Alabama would also be African American. So, the Republican legislature basically, to sum it up, made the, violated the the Supreme Court's order, and is, now is going to have to, um, sorry, my head is all crazy today. But essentially, a federal court is going to be reviewing the new map on August 14th in a couple of weeks. And if the map is rejected by the panel, the court can then call upon a special master, a special map maker, to draw a new map separate from the Alabama legislature, because the legislature just showed that they are not intent on following, not complying with the court order. They did not create a second black majority district. They just kind of created, a more African American district, but it was not in line with what the court asked. And the governor of Alabama, Kay Ivey, did sign this the new congressional map that the legislature drew up into law. But it is very likely that the map will be rejected by the federal panel overseeing the case. And that will likely mean that an independent map maker is going to is going to redraw the maps and make it so that Alabama has two black majority districts, and will likely elect a second. We'll have two Democratic representatives. Then going on to Louisiana, we have a similar case here. Louisiana um, also is also has I believe it has six congressional districts, and yeah, I think, yeah, but only one of them is majority black. That one is currently represented by a Democrat, and a similar story here. There, the Supreme Court upheld a decision by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, I believe, to uh, excuse me, to um, keep to encourage Louisiana's legislature to redraw the map, and include a second black majority district. And yeah, the Supreme Court basically said that it wasn't going to intervene in the case, but it is which basically means that it's not going to say no. It's not going to reject the court order or overturn it, but it's going to leave the decision up to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and allow it to decide the fate of Louisiana's map, which likely means that Republicans or that Democrats are going to get an extra seat in Louisiana, an extra black majority seat, which means that which would likely be up here in this northeastern part of the state, where there are a lot of little Democratic counties on the border with the Mississippi River. That there will likely be a second black majority district, and that would give Democrats two additional seats. And this all kind of goes back to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. In Alabama, in particular, the congressional map was found by the Supreme Court to violate Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which, um, you know, according to Wikipedia, is a general provision that prohibits state and local government from imposing any voting rule that results in the denial or abridgment of the right of any citizen to vote on account of race or color or membership in a language minority group, which basically means that the, voter suppression laws and practices that suppress voting rights are that are enacted by states will be are not constitutional, or not that, but they are not they are illegal. Rather, my head is in a bit of a weird space today, so apologize if I sound like I'm rambling. But yeah, and that is essentially why Alabama's map is being redrawn, because the Supreme Court, um, you know, upheld the decision by the an out by a lower court that that said that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act was not or was being violated by that Alabama map, and it is a similar case with the Louisiana map. But now we're going to talk about North Carolina, the final state here. This one is a little bit less favorable to Democrats because, currently, if you look at the map here, they have seven Democrats and Republicans each have are tied in the state for congressional seats. Democrats have 7 seats, Republicans have 7 seats, and the Supreme Court of North Carolina last year basically struck down a Republican gerrymandered map that gave Democrats like I think only 3 or 4 seats. But now the Supreme Court is controlled by a mostly conservative judge, has a conservative majority following the 2022 elections, and that means that likely meant that North Carolina, or that increased the chances that North Carolina's new congressional map um, you know would be more favorable to Republicans. But the Supreme Court ruled in the case of Moore v. Harper that state legislatures do not have do not have the sole authority to establish federal election laws without review by state courts or governors. And this is known as independent state legislature theory. This is one of the kind of legal arguments that was used by Donald Trump and his lawyers to help him, to kind of help him stay in power in, after he lost the 2020 election. And, this theory was essentially meant to, was essentially used by conservatives to argue that Republicans need to or that the Republican majority legislature has the power to draw their own map without review by the state's Supreme Court because and they did that probably because they were afraid that the Supreme Court would strike it down, and but the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court has essentially made that has basically rejected that theory, which makes it more likely that North Carolina's map will be more balanced. Before that, before this case was settled, I figured that Republicans were going to gerrymander the map and give give themselves 4 extra seats and draw out a couple of Democrats. Now I think it's going to be more split. They're going to try to gerrymander it, but I think it's going to look a little bit more like this. Especially when it comes to Don Davis's seat in the northeastern part of the state, which is very much a majority black area, and considering, kind of the backlash against, kind of the anti, racial gerrymandering backlash that other state legislatures have received for trying to gerrymander the maps. I don't see North Carolina necessarily, the Republicans necessarily getting to draw out Don Davis. It's still a competitive seat, but it's not necessarily one that I would, I think that they're going to try to draw out Wiley Nickel in the 13th and Jeff Jackson in the 14th. I think those are the ones that are the easiest for them to get away with. Again, I'm not supporting it. I'm not, making any argument for or against it. I'm just saying I think this is the, legally less, less, I guess, egregious way to, pick up seats in North Carolina. Legally less egregious, less obviously egregious. Um, so, that is basically, what I would say right now for, these free states in the South with their redistricting, uh, you know, cases. I think that, Alabama and Louisiana, very much look likely to redraw their congressional maps. Alabama is pretty much guaranteed, and Louisiana, is pretty much going to redraw their district, any minute, their map any minute now. And North Carolina, looks likely to redraw its districts in the fall, um, later this year. And overall, the redistricting seems to be benefiting Democrats in the South. But only time will tell. There's still plenty of other, congressional seats, and this does not necessarily guarantee the Democrats will win the House elections, but it definitely does help them in the long run and makes it easier for them to do so. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Sorry if I was a bit if I was kind of rambling on today. I'm tired, I've had, haven't been taking the best care of myself, but either way, I wanted to make a video for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed, what I put out today. Make sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share the video with someone who you think would enjoy it, and check out my non-political channel, Interactor127, where I do reaction videos and, video game walkthroughs, if you're into that sort of stuff. Also, check out my Comrades channel, GrowlingZeus666. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things politics. See ya.